Hello and welcome to our interview segment. I'm Donna Pillar and my guest today is Sharon Marks. Sharon taught high school and college students. She's been a business consultant to CEOs of large companies, a teacher of movement classes for decades, and has held other independent positions in the business world. So Sharon, I'm curious, were you one of those people who knew from the very beginning what you wanted to do?
Actually, I didn't. I experimented with a lot of different things, and I remember when I was very young, like 6 or 7 years old, I asked my mother if it was all right if I could be a garbage man. And my mother was a very liberal Jewish mother, and instead of saying heaven forbid, she asked me why I wanted to do that. And I told her that our garbage men sang, and I wanted a job that made me happy.
Oh,
So that's what I've done.
That's very sweet, yeah. What courses did you teach in high school and college?
High school and
Students.
college was critical thinking, creative writing, modern dance,
I see.
pretty much that.
And was it satisfying?
It was extraordinarily satisfying. Teaching is a very interesting exercise, if you will. If you're, I think, a really good teacher, you learn at least as much as you teach your students. So I was very fortunate.
Yeah. And about your movement classes, now how do they differ from typical exercise classes?
The movement
And
classes,
I know
they do. The movement classes I teach are based on dance, modern dance, jazz dance, and they don't use weights. You use your natural body weight. And I really believe that when people are learning to move, they should feel good about what they're doing. They shouldn't feel, like it's just an hour of grunting. So
That's important.
I thought so.
And what were some of the issues that you dealt with or when you advised and consulted CEOs as a business consultant?
CEOs and senior managers and executive teams are an interesting collection. They're a very interesting population. And trying to get them to understand that they need to communicate, they need to be articulate, and they need to be polite is always challenging.
I see. That didn't come easily to them.
It didn't come easily, and I think part of the problem is that a lot of people, when they get into business, believe that they have a different set of rules. And what I would try to do when I would go into coach, I would observe, say, a CEO run a meeting, and depending on his or her presentation to the other people in the room, then when we would meet afterwards, I would ask, is there a way you could have said that differently or done that differently, or what were you hoping to achieve by making that kind of a statement? So it's, instead of telling them they're doing something wrong, you try to help them think about other options.
I see. And that worked.
Usually,
Successful.
yeah.
Well, we're getting close to the end, and I wanted to ask you if you, having done all the things that you've done, if you were granted the authority to change one thing in society, what would it be?
If I was queen for a day, other than having access to unlimited chocolate for the world, I would probably want to make sure that people learn to communicate coherently and courteously.
And what would your suggestion be?
That they learn to listen to one another. People are very busy. Look at Congress. Nothing gets done because they're talking at each other.
I see. And are you, so if you were to say more about that, how would you wrap that up? In a bow.
In a bow?
With a bow.
I would encourage people to be very clear with themselves before they start talking. What is it that you want to achieve? In other words, if you're a manager and you tell somebody that their work stinks, what's your goal in saying that?
Because you get a response that
That may not be what you intended.
I see. So you would try to say it's so important that you really understand how you want or what you want the person that you're dealing with to understand.
Absolutely. Yeah. Not only do they need to understand it, they need to be willing to be flexible about how they communicate it.
I see. Oh yes, that's wise. Well, Sharon, it's been lovely having you here today. Thank you very much for your visit, and we hope that you will come back someday and talk again about some of the other things you've done too.
Will there be chocolate?
Or I'll try to make,
Okay.
There will be chocolate. I'll say that. So thank you once again, and to our studio audience. I